Hello and welcome to our discussion today. We would want to concentrate on marketing considerations for entrepreneurs. So our discussion today will be focused on the marketing considerations that entrepreneurs would have to focus on. So we would all accept, right? Or we all know that marketing plays a major role in our everyday life. So that it doesn't matter what you are uh, working on, or it doesn't matter what product or service you are offering, it is important to focus on marketing. Otherwise, no one gets to know what you are really doing. And it's also difficult to reach your market segments if you are not concentrating on marketing. And you will also notice that all around us, you have people consuming, right? You are buying products, you are making use of some services, and you realize that on a daily basis, there are variations. Okay, there are various products that come onto the market, and even the ones that we know of, they tend to change. Different brands get introduced onto the market, different versions of the same product are introduced on the market each day, right? So every time you make a purchase or every time you buy a product, you are actually also, in addition to the product you have bought, you are also paying for the marketing that the entrepreneur did to ensure that you as a consumer got to see the product, right? So if you make a purchase, for every purchase that you make, a part of that purchase is actually taking care of marketing, right? So marketing is responsible for ensuring that your customers are satisfied, right? And that what they need is actually what you have and you are making available to them. So marketing is responsible for satisfying customers. And as you satisfy the customers, you realize that they also buy from you, and that is what increases your standard of living or your quality of life. And that is what gives you some income as an entrepreneur. So it's important to focus on satisfying your customer, right? Then the strategy for marketing goods produced by the entrepreneur has to be therefore useful to that to the consumer, the one who the product is being manufactured for. Okay, so it's not just coming up with any product and focusing on marketing in a way that you push the product onto anyone who is available to purchase. But it's also important that you ensure that whichever product you are putting on the market is actually of benefit to the consumer. All right. So you will not have anyone purchasing a product that they will not need or purchasing a product that they cannot use. So it's important to ensure that the product you are coming up with or whichever service you are providing is such that it will satisfy the need of your consumer. Okay, that's why as an entrepreneur, you don't just start producing, you don't just start doing things because you feel that you can do it. But it's important to identify a need in the market and try to meet that need or to satisfy that need for the consumer. All right. So marketing will be very easy if the product you have is such that the consumer needs it. Okay. So if we want to market, it's important that you channel your resources to the right places. Remember that resources are limited. As an entrepreneur, a startup, you may not even have so much funds to be throwing around. Okay, so it's important that you focus on the market, the exact market that you are producing the item for, or you intend to sell. It's important that you focus on them specifically. So how do you select your target market? This should have been done earlier, even before coming up with a product. So if we say your target market, it represents a group of people who have similar needs, okay, or they have similar perceptions, or they have similar interests. So for example, if you are someone who is into the sale of computers, right, you may want to target students. Why? Because it's likely that every student at some point in their academic journey would require a laptop. So you can have a target market of maybe university students, knowing that they would have a need for the product that you have. Okay, so the target market represents the group of people who have a similar need, or they have similar perceptions, and they have similar interests. You realize that this group of people incline towards similar brands, or they incline towards similar products. So for a particular target market, if it is a brand of phone, you realize that everybody within that target market may want to acquire that product. Okay. So the target market show inclination towards similar brands, and they respond equally to market fluctuations, right? So if the price increases and they will not buy the product, you realize that it will cut across the entire target market. So individuals who think on the same level lines, they see things the same way, all right? Or even if it's not the same way, they have a similar perception about the product. So it's important to identify these people, or this group of people, and then select them as your target market. And it is for these people that you develop a marketing strategy for. Okay, so in coming up with a marketing strategy, it's important that you get to know your target market, so that you will not develop a strategy that will not apply to your target market. So you select a target market, and then once you select the target market, you know that you can now proceed to coming up with a strategy for that market. All right. So so that's the market selection. You select your target market, and then once that is done, you can now go ahead and strategize for them. Right. And you notice that if you target the market well, it allows you as an entrepreneur or as a small business owner to develop products and services that will fit the need of the particular target market that you have identified. Okay. So if you do this, then the resources you have will be channeled to effective use, because the people that you have targeted are the people that actually need your product. Okay. It's also important to know that once you have selected the target market, then you can address the needs of those people that you have selected. Remember that you cannot meet everybody's needs infinitely. All right. So once you have selected the people, then with the resources available to you, you are also able to address their needs, right? So like we said, it's important that you identify your target market. Then after identifying the target market, you can now come up with a market strategy. Okay. And the market strategy is what gives you a competitive advantage over the market, or a competitive advantage on the market. Remember that you are not the only one serving the market. There are other companies, there are other entrepreneurs who are providing the same service or a similar service that you are providing. So it's important that as a small business or as an entrepreneur, you have your market strategy. Your strategy is what would make your business stand out. Okay. And the strategy helps you to tailor your products and services in a way that meets the demands of the customer or of your consumer. Okay. And to be able to tailor your products or your services, then you have to focus on what you call the marketing mix. So the marketing mix, or the 4 Ps, are what would help an entrepreneur or a small business owner to tailor his product or his service to the demands of the consumer. So if you say the 4 Ps, then you're talking about the product, the price, the promotion, and then distribution or place. So since we are saying the 4 Ps, let's stick to the Ps. So you have the product, the price, the place, and then promotion. So as you focus on these 4 Ps for your product, you realize that your product becomes unique on the market, not like every other product from another entrepreneur. All right. And that's what you refer to as the 4 Ps. So it is important that as an entrepreneur, you focus on these 4 Ps. That's your product, your price, your place, and then the promotion. It's also important that before you start with the marketing activity as an entrepreneur or as a small business owner, you should be able to network, all right? Get to interact with people, those who matter to your business, right? And this networking can be done whether offline or online. It is important to network, improve or grow the number of people that you know and the number of people that are likely to do business with you. So online, you can make use of all the platforms that are available to increase your network. And then in person, it's possible that you find programs that relate with your product or your service. And then as these programs run, you participate. And then in participation, you try to reach out to people and get people to know about you and also to know about your product, right? So it's important to start the marketing activity with networking. Okay, get to relate with the right people. And then in relating with the right people, you talk about your business, you advertise, right? And then you also get people to know about what you are doing, right? In coming up with a strategy, there's what you call the Ansoff matrix that helps the entrepreneur to come up with a strategy for marketing. And this tool, the matrix, the Ansoff matrix, it helps the entrepreneur or the marketing person, the one in charge of marketing for that small business owner, to think about the best ways to get the product out there. Okay. And the matrix has 2 main areas. You have on the horizontal axis where you have the products. So you can have either an existing product or a new product. Okay. And then on the vertical axis, you have the markets. The markets can be existing markets or new markets. So your focus here is to think about whether you are coming up with an already existing product for an existing market. So if you have an existing product for an existing market, or consumers who are already making purchases, then what you do is market penetration. So you focus on your existing consumers or your existing customers. And then with your same product or the same product that you have, you try to get your customers to make more purchases or to interact more with those customers so that they purchase more. And that is market penetration. Then you have product development. For product development, what it means is that you come up with a new product for an existing market. So for the customers who already are doing business with you, you think about another product that these same people will need. Okay. And as you do that, we call it product development. Then the third strategy is market development. For market development, what it means is that you have an existing product or the same product that you are selling, but you are looking for consumers or customers outside of your current consumers. Okay, so in that case, you are trying to get new people, you are trying to get more people to purchase the product that you have. Okay, so you have the existing product in a new market. And then you have the last one in the matrix, which is diversification. With diversification, what it means is that you are coming up with an entirely new product, okay? And then also targeting a new market altogether. So as an entrepreneur, if you want to focus on marketing, these are the options that are available. You can either focus on market penetration, you can have product development, you can have market development, or diversification. Okay. All right. So these have been explained here. For market penetration, what it means is that you are trying to sell more of your existing product in the existing market. Okay. And how you can do this is to persuade other people, all right, to use more of their products, or you can get non-users within that market to start using the product, okay? Or you can try to get customers from your competitors, but this is the market penetration where you try to sell more of the product to your existing market. Then there's the market development, which involves the organization or you as the entrepreneur trying to identify new markets, okay, for your existing products. Okay, so you may look at other geographic areas, okay, and target people in those geographic areas who would need your products. Then you have the product development where you come up with related products, okay, or you modify the products you currently have in a way that will appeal to your current market, right? And then the final one is diversification, where you move into a completely new market with an entirely new product. Okay, so these are the main strategies based on the Ansoff matrix. Then in marketing, you also have to think of pricing, because as an entrepreneur, one of the very sensitive things to consider is how you price your products. So you would have to consider which of the pricing methods will work best for you. Okay, so there's what you call the markup pricing. All right. And this is the very common pricing technique that a lot of people use. And what happens here is that you focus on all the costs, okay, that went into the production of your good or the service you're providing. So you think about all the the costs that have gone into it, right? And then you mark it up by some percentage. Okay, so once people use 30%, 20%, 50% of the entire cost that went into the production of that product or service. Once this is done, you are able to come up with the price of your product. Okay. Then there's also the target return pricing. And with the target return pricing, what happens is that you already know how much you want to get from your investment. Okay, you have an idea. So, for example, if you invested about 1,000 cedis, you have an idea how much you want to get on the 1,000 cedis as profit. So, based on that margin, you calculate the price for each product after you are done with your production. Okay, so here the price is determined based on how much returns you want on the investment that you made. All right. And most of the times it's used by companies that invest huge sums of money into production. Okay, so based on how much you have invested, you have an expectation of the profit at the end of at the end of the period. So you notice here that with the target return pricing, the focus is not on the cost, the focus is on the investment that was made. With the markup pricing, focus is on the cost. Focus is on the cost of production, all right? So markup pricing focuses on the cost, and then the target return pricing focuses on the investment that was made. Then you have the value pricing, right? The value pricing basically says that the price you give the product should represent the value that you are giving the consumers. So based on how beneficial the product will be for the consumer, you give it a price. All right. And sometimes you see marketers trying to explain to you why the product is X amount based on some benefits that it has. That is value pricing. Then you have perceived value pricing. And this is very closely related to the value pricing. It's just that here the entrepreneur tries to price the product based on how consumers perceive the usefulness of that product, right? So if the perception of usefulness is high, then the entrepreneur will price the product high. If the perception of value from the consumer is low, then it will affect the price of the product. You understand? So here, the buyer's perception of value is what you consider, not the seller's perception of value. Okay, so that's the difference between the value pricing and perceived value pricing. For value pricing, the perception of value is from the point of view of the seller. But with the perceived value pricing, the perception of value is from the buyer, not the seller. Okay. All right. Then you have the going rate pricing. The going rate pricing is where the entrepreneur does not really consider how much it cost him to come up with the product, but the entrepreneur looks on the market, checks the prices on the market, checks the exchange rate and all of those other functions, and then based on that, they price the product. Okay, so the entrepreneur with the going rate pricing system will not really concentrate on, or will not focus on, how much it cost him to come up with a product, but the focus will be on what the market price is. Okay, and then based on the market price, that entrepreneur prices his product. Then you have the sealed bid pricing, where this one is mostly used for organizations that put in tenders, right? So if there's a tender and you submit a bid, you realize that everything is sealed. No one gets to know how much is involved unless the committee sits and then they unveil all of the applications that they have received. All right. So no one gets to know what the other party has charged until a vendor is chosen. Okay. So the sealed bid pricing is a bit competitive because for the same product or for the same service, you realize that you have vendors that are quoting different prices. And based on what a particular organization is looking for, they will select the best vendor based on their pricing and other characteristics that they look out for. Then you have the premium pricing. Okay, premium pricing most of the times is used by very known brands, okay, popular brands. And what happens here is that because the brand is known and because it is popular, they tend to price their products high. Okay, and this is done in a way to protect the value of that brand so that it is unique on the market. And if you cannot afford it, then it means that you don't belong to their target market, right? So, for example, if it's a designer bag or it's a designer watch, because of the price, you don't get to see everybody using that product. Okay, so you in premium pricing, the entrepreneur would usually give the product a high price so that on the market, not everybody will be able to purchase. Only some few people will be able to purchase. Okay, then you have penetration pricing. Penetration pricing is mostly kind of opposite to the premium pricing. So whereas the premium pricing, you have prices set high. With the penetration pricing, prices are actually set so low that everybody can make a purchase. So in most of the cases, entrepreneurs do this to be able to break into the market. So for example, if you are new on the market, you may want to try penetration pricing, where you give your products very low prices so that you'll be able to get a lot of people making purchases. And then after some time, when you have been able to increase your market share, you can think about being at par with your competitors. Okay, then you have economy pricing. Economy pricing is where the entrepreneur assigns low products to only selected products, not everything. Okay, so maybe you have a range of products. The economy pricing will allow the entrepreneur to select some of the products and then price them low. Okay, and here what happens is that because you have a selected number of products whose prices are low, it is also required that if you are marketing, you don't spend so much on marketing, because otherwise it may affect revenue negatively. Okay, so it's important that the cost of marketing and promotion is kept to a minimum, right? Then you have price skimming. Price skimming is where an organization or an entrepreneur based on the fact that your product is unique on the market and it's not a common thing, or maybe it's a monopoly, no one else has your product on the market, what happens is that the entrepreneur, because he's the only one who has the product, tends to price higher. Okay. And if this is done, what it means is that whether the consumer likes it or not, they will have to buy from you anyway, because you are the only one who has the product that they are looking for. Then you have psychological pricing. And this pricing is where the marketer, or in our case, the small business owner, wants consumers to respond with emotions, right? So instead of having the person think about the figure that he's seeing, the person rather acts based on emotions. So for example, instead of pricing an item at 30 cedis, right? If you want to do a psychological pricing, what you do is 29.99 or 29.95 or 29.90. You'll notice that the moment the consumer sees the price of your product, they will not think about the fact that 29.99 is approximately 30. They will just make a purchase because it looks cheaper than if you had just pasted 30 cedis on that product. So the psychological pricing makes buyers focus on, or they respond based on their emotions and not based on rational thinking, right? And then you also have the product bundle pricing. The product bundle pricing here is where the entrepreneur combines several products. Okay, so maybe you sell a chair, you sell a table, you have other furniture that you sell single. The product bundle pricing requires that the entrepreneur puts together a group of products. So maybe you have chairs in there, tables, and some office furniture. And then together, the entrepreneur gives a price for all the products together as one. Okay, so here the entrepreneur or the seller will combine several products in the same package, all right, and then sell. This is very good when the entrepreneur, for example, has a lot of old stock that they want to clear, right? So if there are a lot of things that you want to clear out of the shop, then what you do is product bundle pricing, put all of them together so that whoever makes a purchase is actually buying everything, okay? Everything in that bundle. Then you have promotional pricing, and promotional pricing is used to promote a product, okay? For example, if there's a new product that you have and you want people to know about the product, you can run a promotion around the product. And so based on the promotion you are running around the product, you may not sell the product at the usual price. Based on the promotion, the price of the product may be reduced because you want it to sell fast, or because you want to increase your market share, or because you want people to know about the product. It's important to note that promotional pricing is not permanent. Most of the times, promotional pricing is just for some limited time, maybe a week, some few days, or it can center around maybe a festive occasion. So if it's Christmas, then you realize that after Christmas, that promotional pricing will no more apply, right? Or it can be a whole month, maybe the month of Ramadan, and then after that is done, the promotional pricing will no more stand. So you can have them in different forms. You can have discounts, you can have rebates, and then there's also the popular buy one, get one free. So all of these are promotional pricing strategies. Then you can also have the geographical pricing. And here with the geographical pricing, what is done is the prices are set based on location. So depending on where the product is being sold, the price will be set for it. Okay, and you can have varying prices across the globe because the conditions in each country is different. So it is the same product, but different pricing around different parts of the world. It's also important to know that as an entrepreneur, you may either be dealing in products or you are providing a service. And if you are providing a service, then it's important to also focus on marketing the service. You don't only market products, you can also market services. A service is an activity, okay, where one party offers another party an essential, intangible thing that does not result in the ownership of anything. So, for example, you have a spa and you give massage to people. When they come to your spa and they are leaving, they do not leave with anything. They do not leave holding any product. But you realize that they would have visited your premises and left. Those services are also such that they should be marketed. Prices should be set just like you would do a product, okay? And for some of the services, the pricing is such that you focus on how long the consumer stayed in the premise or how long the consumer was attended to. So people sometimes use time to charge. So you can charge based on the hours or the number of hours that the consumer spent with you. Okay, so the production of services may or may not be tied to a physical product. If we pick the hospital, for example, if you go to the hospital, in as much as it's a service, there are times that you will come home with some drugs, okay? But it's important to note that the production of services or the delivery of services may or may not be tied to any physical product. It does not change the fact that you are producing or you are providing a service. And if you are providing a service, you will get to know because the things you do are such that they will be intangible. You will not have anything to show for a service that has been provided. Service provision is also such that you cannot separate the service that has been provided from whoever received the service. So you realize that the service that was provided can be found in or on the person who received it. You cannot separate the two, right? And it's also important to know that service offered varies from person to person. No matter how much you try to have the same sessions for people, there are likely to be variations. For example, if you are providing counseling services and somebody gets to you, sits with you for an hour, you'll notice that the next patient who comes to talk to you for an hour may not necessarily talk about the same thing the previous person spoke about. So services provided have variability. And then there's also perishability, which means that it is not it's not long everlasting, right? It's not eternal. There's an end to the service that you have received. So for example, if you came for a massage, that massage will not be a lifetime thing. All right. After some time, you will need another massage. If you went for treatment, for example, a therapy session, it is not for a lifetime. You may have to be doing that frequently. Okay. So the four main characteristics of services are that they are intangible, They are inseparable. There's variability. And then you also have perishability, right? So these are some marketing considerations that entrepreneurs are expected to have or are expected to think about, ponder on as they come up with their products or their services. What you are supposed to do, okay, is that with your hypothetical business in mind, right? You're supposed to think about 5 pricing strategies that you can apply to that idea and why you would want to apply those 5 pricing strategies. So that is what I want you to do. Get that done and submit it to me by email. So send it to me by email. Think about 5 pricing strategies that can be applied to your hypothetical business. And then once that is done, you explain why you think those 5 pricing strategies will work for that business. Once this is done, you send it to me by email, right, as a PDF document. Okay. If you have any concerns or if you have any challenges, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much. And I look forward to your responses. Bye-bye.